This is not Bob Staunton, genius broadcaster and throat-clearing phlegm spitter. Are you intelligent? If not, then subscribe and like the Tommy Boyds Shrine YouTube channel. This show talks about ghosts. Have you ever been given the willies by some scary ghoulies? The scariest thing I ever saw was Tommy Boyds' paycheck for BBC Southern Counties.
Ground control to Major Tom.
We've been expecting you, Mr. Boyd.
Morning. Before we crack on, I need the advice of a Christian. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Jehovah's Witness would be ideal, although all the Jehovah's Witnesses who listen to this program and do phone in from time to time may well be out shopping. Any form of Christian will do. The reason being, we need to talk about ghosts, we need to talk about our immortal soul and the possibility that there are ghosts, and I want to neither upset Christians nor do I want to risk my immortal soul as somebody who, I dare say like you, good listener, one is coming round to the possibility that, you know, there may be a God and there may be a heaven and it is where you'd like to go. So the deal, obviously, is that whilst you're down here, you don't do anything that's likely to be a bit of a blot on your passport through the pearly gates. So before we actually get down to the nitty-gritty of talking about ghosts, free call 0500 10 53 89 if you're a Christian. Thank you. The reason I wanted to talk about ghosts, I would have to refer you to some research which has been put in front of me by one of my medical team, and this comes from the most recent issue of New Asian Scientist. It's a research paper which has been published based on some work done in Yokohama by Akira Nakamura and Yoshikatsu Kawaguchi, who have devised a machine which is based on something you may have heard of called Kirlian photography. Fascinating piece of work. And with it, they have been able to assemble crude photographs of what people in Asian medicine refer to as qi or ki energy. And it's extraordinary to see that qi energy, which is what they put needles into if you go for acupuncture, and anybody's ever had that done knows that there's something in it, okay? Western medicine even now sometimes refers people to acupuncturists. And then there's shiatsu and reflexology. All these alternative forms of therapy are based on the notion that we have this type of energy in us, which is different from our nervous system, different from that kind of energy that you have if you've eaten a bar of chocolate. It's called qi or it's called ki. If it's photographed, it looks a bit like you. So, you hear where this one might lead. It could lead to what amounts to a photograph of a real ghost. It could be that they've already been photographed. I've got the photographs in front of me. Free call 0500 10 53 89. A quick word with Brett, who's very kindly called from Leatherhead. Brett, I understand you are a Jehovah's Witness. Welcome to Talk Radio.
Hello.
Brett, hello. Quickly, wick the radio off. Good lad.
Yeah, I'm on air.
You are.
Right. Well, I've got a theory about ghosts, right?
Sorry, before you do, are you a Jehovah's Witness?
Yeah, I am.
Are we allowed to talk about ghosts? Will it mean we could still go to heaven? If we believe in them?
Well, you can... I don't believe you go to heaven anyway. And
where do Jehovah's Witnesses go then?
We're looking forward to living in paradise on earth.
Well, that'll do for me.
Right, forever.
I mean, can you do that if you believe in ghosts?
Sorry?
Do you get that if you believe in ghosts?
I don't know, but all I've got to say for you is I reckon that ghosts can take on any form they like.
Yeah?
Because you think, right, like people normally see ghosts sort of dressed in clothes, don't they?
With the greatest respect, I was looking forward to an adjudication rather than an anecdote or a theory.
Yeah.
If you're telling me as a qualified Jehovah's Witness that it's acceptable to talk about ghosts and you could still find paradise on earth, that's good enough for me. That's what you're saying.
Well, you can talk about ghosts if you like, that's fine.
Good. Hallelujah. Thank you for that.
All right, have a nice day.
Not at all. Not at all. The book's still on the window ledge by the front door, by the way. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Good. Okay. Let's talk about ghosts then. It could be that Japanese scientists, Japanese doctors can now take photographs of what may turn out to be ghosts. It's a fascinating theory, and we'll dismantle it later. But first of all, who hasn't been spooked? That's the first thing. We've all been spooked. As children, we were spooked. I was spooked when I was 23 years of age. I was a student living in a basement flat. Jeremy Cartland, a famous murder victim, owned the flat above me. He was axed to death in France. 3 weeks later, I was lying in my bed in that basement flat when I heard him walking about just as he had done before he'd gone to France. I did. And at the age of 23, I found myself running out into the street at 1 o'clock in the morning with just a T-shirt on, and I was terrified. So we've all been spooked. So that is a bona fide phenomenon. So whether there are ghosts and whether you can photograph them, we've all been spooked. Why? For what? Everything has a purpose in nature. For what? Free call 0500 10 53 89. Can animals get spooked? I once had a shiatsu, which is a form of treatment which is based on the idea that we have key meridians running through our body. At the time that I had the shiatsu, I was concerned because I'd just been to the supermarket and I'd just bought some food that I was going to cook because my parents were coming down that evening, and I was concerned because I wasn't sure whether my dad would like, not that he's that fussy, what I'd cooked, what I had in the bag. I didn't say anything to the guy who's giving me a shiatsu, but I promise you this is true. At the end of it, he said, "Your father will be pleased." That's all he said to me. I hadn't talked about it, but it was in my mind. He gave me a shiatsu. He keyed into this key energy thing, and he said to me, "Your father will be pleased." Free call 0500 10 53 89. This all boils down to, what do you think happens when you die, at the moment of death? Does a light go out, or does a brighter light come on? It's maybe something that you haven't given very much thought to because you're concerned about bringing the consequence of that thought closer to you by thinking about it, in just the same way that people don't like to use the word cancer. Free call 0500 10 53 89. If we have a soul, where is it? If you ask a person to point to themselves, they point to their chest. They don't point to their head, which is where the seat of your intelligence is. So if you have a soul, is it a form of energy that could one day be discovered by medical science, which is what the Japanese may have done this month? And if so, where is it? And if so, what is it? Because people talk about our essential essence as human beings. They say it is something which sets us apart from the animals. But what actually sets us apart from the animals? They communicate, they build things, they can learn new tricks, they can teach their young new things. So what is our essence, the very essence of a human being? Is it morality? Is it that we know the difference between right and wrong? Or do we know the difference between right and wrong? And everything that animals do is for the common good, the good of the herd, the good of the pack, the good of their species, maybe even the good of the planet. So animals have a kind of a morality of their own. I put it to you that if there is a human essence, it's our sense of humour. That seems to me to be about the only thing that we have that animals do not. Which might explain why a lot of people say that when ghosts do visit them or appear before them, when they do actually witness the manifestation of this strange, spooky feeling, they don't feel at all scared. In actual fact, it's quite amusing. Free call 0500 10 53 89. We have dispensation from the Jehovah's Witnesses. Let's kick ghosts around between now and 3 o'clock. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening. Andrew calls from Birmingham. Andrew, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy. How are you?
I'm well. Welcome.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, I will. I phoned because I wondered if you thought about... Oh, no, sorry, it's the other way around. You go ahead.
Okay, then. What I wanted to say, really, a few points. Just listening into what you were saying just before the break, I'd say that one of our distinguishing marks that set us apart from other animals, etc., is our ability to love human beings, fellow human beings, and our ability to love God intellectually and experientially. And so that's something that's different between ourselves and other parts of creation. Also, I think I'd like to add as well that regarding death and so on, in the biblical concept, death is a state where people have no continued knowledge. There's an actual text within the Bible, and speaking from a biblical point of view, that says that the dead know nothing. They're not able to take part in anything that continues under the sun. So in the context of the soul, the Bible actually presents the picture that a person becomes a living soul when there's a body and there's breath, that is, as the Bible puts it, the Spirit of God. When he looks at the creation of Adam, it says that Adam was formed, and then God breathed into his nostrils, and he became a living soul. In Hebrew, that means nephesh. Nephesh always refers to body plus breath. Once the breath is taken away, we
could go on like this all day, couldn't we? Where are we going to get? What's your point?
The point that I'm trying to make is that in terms of ghosts, etc., there's no such thing as a person being a ghost. When you're dead, you're dead.
Right, but there is such a thing as key energy. Mm-hmm. I think we accept that, don't we? Because when you go for acupuncture, something happens.
Okay, you can accept that in if you want to. But in terms
no, that is widely accepted. You mustn't dismiss it like that just because it doesn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
What we're discussing here is the photographs that Japanese scientists have taken, which are believed to be of key energy, a bit like an X-ray of this energy system which exists in the body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah? And shall I quote you from the paper?
Go on, please, yeah.
This is the translation. They say, they conclude, when chi is called upon to evacuate a host, because as you know, in nature, nothing is wasted.
Go on.
True, isn't it?
Go on, yeah.
You say go on. I don't mean go on. Does that mean it's inconvenient?
No, I mean continue. I want to see where you're getting to.
Yeah. When chi is called upon to evacuate a host, where the chi is strong and the evacuation is rapid, the configuration of chi always reconvenes in the vicinity above the host. Very interesting.
Right.
Isn't it?
It is very interesting. And I suppose if you deal from one form of philosophy, you can come up with that interpretation, i.e. an Eastern concept and so on. But bringing it back to a Christian point of view, as you asked, it's called for a Christian and so on.
Yeah, only to find out whether we're allowed to talk about ghosts.
Well, you can talk about them, but
excellent.
Put it in the right context, which is that ghosts...
No. Exploratory conversations don't have to have a right context. They're right because nobody knows. So that's why you explore them.
Okay, you can explore them, but also explore them within the understanding, within the framework in which something is coming from, or you misunderstand the point.
Quite the opposite. That's the trouble with Christianity. It's absolutely certain within its own territory, and it's quite interesting to look over the fence.
You can look over the fence, but also how do you interpret what you see over the fence?
That's what we're going to find out.
And
come and join us.
You come from a Christian point of view.
What would happen if you found out something which turned your idea about Christianity on its head? Would you reject it because it would deny everything that you believed up to now? Or would you welcome it if you could recognize that it was the case?
Well, you see, I think any Christian living in today's society often finds or faces situations like that, where what they once thought about or believed may be confronted with something else. For example, they may feel that to pray for a certain thing and it'll come through, but it doesn't, and it confronts their faith.
Have you got an open mind?
What you then do, yes I do, is you work with that, incorporate it into a deeper understanding of faith in God and reality in the world.
I'm glad you brought up prayer. I don't think prayer can work, because if prayer worked, we'd all have been dead thousands of years ago, because most people pray for other people's destruction, don't they? Most people pray that other people will suffer ill fortune, don't they? In their heart, that you find yourself quietly wishing ill fortune on whoever it is you've got in your mind half the time. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Morris calls from Great Yarmouth. You're on Talk Radio. Morris, good afternoon.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, hello, Tom.
Morris.
Yeah? Don't want to carry on, do you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Morris, loud and clear, and it will make for a fascinating conversation if you did get stuck into it.
Well, okay. I'm sorry to hear that last remark that you made, Tommy, about we pray for things to hurt other people. Is that what you meant? Hello?
Yes, Morris?
Is that what you meant? That we pray for some harm to come to other people?
Seem to, yes.
Well, it's a dreadful thing. The Christians don't do that. We pray to help other people.
Oh, no, Christians are the worst. You're always wishing bad luck on people who believe other religions.
Oh, no, that's not true, Tom. We don't. That's not, no way do we believe that.
Yeah, well, you might not, but I'm here to tell you that the rest of you do.
Well, I'm here to tell you that you're entirely wrong, and you ought to maybe go to a Christian church and read your Bible and find out what it's all about. It's about loving one another.
But you don't love Muslims?
Yes, I do.
No, well, I mean, people who generally follow Christianity don't love Muslims because they've got it wrong.
No, we Muslims are just as good as anyone else on earth.
Oh, right. Well, it's new to me, Morris. I'm delighted to hear
It
it.
doesn't mean that I believe in what they preach.
No, oh no, they've got it wrong, and they're not going to go to heaven.
No, I didn't say that either, Tom. No one goes directly to heaven. The chap you had on before was right in that we all go to a common grave.
Mm.
And you obviously don't read your Bible, do you?
You're darn right I don't. I had it stuffed down my throat for about 5 years when I was little, and the first
You know what
independent...
it says in Ecclesiastes 9 then?
I hope you're not going to tell me.
Well, I'm not going to tell you if you don't want to know, Tom.
You're darn tootin' I don't.
Well, if you do feel like looking at it, look at your Bible and look at Ecclesiastes 9.
Yeah. Well, let's
If you're not
get one
interested-
thing absolutely straight, Morris. It's just another book as far as I'm concerned, and I would refer you to chapter 4, the opening paragraph of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe.
Yeah?
All right?
Yeah?
Which is, Emily felt there was something wrong.
Huh?
Aha. There.
Well, I haven't read that, actually, but...
Well, you should.
well,
You should
maybe I
spend,
should.
you should
Okay,
spend
I'll
more
have a
time
look
going
at
to Lion and the Witch and the Wardrobe classes.
And so what was this thing that Emily thought was wrong then?
Ah, well, you see, I haven't got time to explain it all to you. It's in many ways, it's...
Well, I haven't got time to explain the Bible to you, Tom. You
an
should read
elusive
it for
remark.
yourself. It's a good book. It talks about a
It's
lot.
very boring.
Boring. The Bible is never
Boring.
boring.
What happens in it?
Well, it tells you all about loving one another and how to treat one another.
Well, you can get
our
that in
life
Mills and
here on
Boone.
earth.
You can get that in Mills and Boone.
Well, if that's what you believe, Tom, you go ahead. I feel very sorry for you.
Well, have the argument then.
I'm not having an argument, Tom. I don't want to argue.
Yes, you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't have rung up.
No, I just get so fed up with people talking about ghosts when there isn't such a thing. A chap we tried to say before, and he didn't get it out very well. Ghosts always appear with their clothes on. Well, I've never heard of clothes coming back with a soul or a spirit. Have you? Man is a living soul. He goes into the grave when he dies, and he waits for the resurrection. If you don't believe in the resurrection, well, fair enough. Now, that's up to you as a human being, whether you believe or whether you don't believe. But Christians have that faith.
Yes, you do. And we don't know, to be blunt, those who don't, we don't know whether to envy you or pity you.
Well, I don't want to either envy or pity. I just want to love everyone. As simple as that. I don't want an envy or pity. Why should I?
We're not saying you do want it. What I'm telling you is it from our point of view, which is that we don't know whether to envy you or pity you. We don't.
There you go. It's neither of those.
No. Well, it is for us.
Sometimes people respect that. For our honesty.
Only other Christians do.
Oh, that's not true.
Atheists and agnostics and Muslims and Buddhists and Hindus don't respect you.
I don't know whether you're doing this to wind me up, Tom, or not, but you're not going to wind me up.
I'm just telling you I'm telling you facts here, Morris.
No, that's not a fact, Tom.
You've got to get out a bit more.
It's a twisted...
When did you last go to a mosque?
I don't go to a mosque.
When did you last read the Quran?
I haven't read the Quran.
When
Tom.
did you last do your Buddhist
Can I
chant?
say to you, Jesus Christ said, "You shall know them by their fruits." Now, if anyone is proclaiming something to be good and right, we will know that it's good and right by their fruits.
If you'd been born in Delhi,
Yes?
would you have been a Christian?
No, probably not, Tom.
No,
I
you
see
don't.
what you're getting at.
Oh,
Yeah.
well listened. And?
Well, I thought you were going to say something else. But if I was born in Delhi, I probably wouldn't have been a Christian. But there are plenty of people who probably were born in Delhi and who become Christians.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a fact.
It's a fact. Free call 0500 10 53 89. So do we have an immortal soul? And if we do, does it come back as a ghost? Have you ever seen a ghost? If you are a ghost, do call. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening. And Neil calls from Leeds. You're on Talk Radio. Neil, good afternoon.
Hello, I'm just ringing on your topic about ghosts, spirits, and heaven and all that type of thing, and where you go to when you die and that. And I think, logically, I have to believe, everybody can believe what they want to believe, but I believe there's no heaven. But I truly believe in intelligent life and everything. And a theory I have is, once the human body, it does have some type of spirit or soul or something, and maybe it's an incubation time as living here as we are, and when we do die, we go to wherever we should go, wherever we should go. What do you think about that?
You don't believe in heaven, but you do believe in ghosts.
Well, I don't know about heaven or anything like that, but I'm saying the most logic thing is a far more, advanced people and us have sort of like put us here, and maybe our spirit, our soul, or whatever it is that we have, if we have one, and whether we die, and that's it, we're dead, full stop. And if we don't do that, then maybe we go to wherever we go. Maybe we're here through them. I don't think an almighty God, came down and created us all. It's, I think it'd be more logic. Somebody far more advanced than us. And maybe it's sort of like an incubating time. Our body's a shell inside us. There's something there. It's incubating. It's preparing for wherever it's meant to go.
Yeah, the trouble is, I always find you start thinking about it, and you pretty quickly realise that you're not going to get anywhere because it's beyond our brains. But at the same time, almost every time you start thinking about anything that's worth thinking about, you end up here.
Yeah.
Where we've got to, which is basically the same question that all the philosophers and prophets have ever tried to address, which is, what's the point?
Yeah. Can I put something to you what I read in the paper not so long back about some scientists taking a monkey's head off, changing it round. They took a monkey's head off, they'd freeze the head and the brain, and they put it back onto another monkey's body several months later, and the monkey was revived, and it was all right and living. I don't know. Did you ever read about anything like that yourself?
No.
No. Well, it was in one of the newspapers, and they made a big thing about it. So if you have got a soul and you do die, and they took somebody's head off, and like a monkey's or whatever it is, and then kept it for 7 months, but the rest of its body's dead and gone, and put it onto another monkey, and brought that monkey back to life.
It probably wasn't much good as a monkey, was it, after that had happened?
Yeah, they did bring it back round, so what happened to the soul or the spirit then?
Well, you're assuming that monkeys have souls.
Well, we're all living creatures, I don't know.
Well, if monkeys have souls, then everything has souls, doesn't it? Goldfish.
Well, maybe, I don't
Flies.
know. I don't know.
Well, it's your idea. You've got to know. If you think that an illustration of some
about human beings,
hideous vivisection that took place on chimpanzees illustrates something, but you're not quite sure what about the immortal soul, your assumption is that animals have immortal souls. That broadens the conversation a little bit, doesn't it?
No, yeah, it does. But what is
for one thing, it means they go to heaven.
Scientists was building up to.
If animals have immortal souls, then you'd get ghosts of animals.
Yeah.
And then people say you do.
Yeah, some people say you do, but what is these scientists building up to as well?
And then you get animals going to heaven.
Yeah, but what is these scientists building up to as well as that they could do it to humans in the far future?
But Christians don't believe that animals go to heaven.
Christians don't?
No.
Well, they can believe whatever they want to believe, but me personally, I think the body is an incubator.
The body is an incubator. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Jules calls from Falkirk. You're on Talk Radio. Jules, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Hello, Jules.
How you doing?
All right, you?
Yep. I just called up to say that when I was about 12-year-old, I lived in an old boarding house, and it was a top dormitory, which was in the attic area. And to get to the toilet for the dormitory, you had to cross over a sort of staircase, go out the dormitory, and cross the staircase. And I was going to the toilet. I hadn't gone to sleep yet, so I wasn't dreaming. There were still people awake in the dormitory. And when I looked down the staircase, there was a sort of gentleman of about 55 in what I would call sort of period costume coming up the stairs, quite solid, not ghostly at all. And I looked at him, and he got such a fright. He really jumped and stopped, and obviously didn't want me to see him. And I apologised, as you would. If you give someone a fright, you apologise. And so I'd apologised and said, I'm sorry, and went back into the dormitory. And then thought, what did I see? That can't be possible. It's a girls' boarding house. He's not meant to be there. But it was quite clear, and I thought afterwards, well, that must be what you would call a ghost. Mm-hmm. He meant me no harm whatsoever. He was quite, obviously, got a fright that I'd seen him, had no intention for me to see him, meant me no harm, and the only rational thing would be to apologise to him and go back into the dormitory. I don't know if I would absolutely say I believe in ghosts. I know what I saw. It tends to confuse me when I think about what happens to you after you die, because ghost isn't a sort of rational thing, a logical thing that I would say, well, that happened to I come back as a ghost. But I know what I saw, and it tends to confuse any further thoughts as to what would happen after I died.
Very interesting. There's new research that's been done in Japan involving a camera which is similar to... Have you heard of Kirlian photography?
Yes. I actually do a lot of photography myself.
Do you?
Well, I'm sort of, photographer sort of thing.
Well, in that case you would, wouldn't you?
Yes.
That's not a coincidence, is it, really?
I do lots of other things.
Funny
I
thing.
dabble in that as well.
Okay. All right. Just lightening the load there.
Mm.
What they're suggesting is that it's possible to take a photograph of a type of energy which they have believed in for thousands of years and which Western medicine is now comfortably
Slowly coming around
accepting.
to realising, yeah.
Chi energy or key energy. You've heard of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they can now take a photograph of it. But some of the photographs they've taken of it, using this special film rather than special camera, as I understand it, a bit like an X-ray,
Yeah.
shows that when it's away from its host, that's to say the person whose key energy it is,
Certainly.
it reconstitutes itself. Because key energy inhabits every part of the body, it reconstitutes itself in such a way that when photographed, it looks almost like the person that it used to be in.
Yes. Well, I can understand how they would take photographs of that, because we do have energies and charges, be they electrical pulses or whatever, going through the body. And so with the development of photographic techniques, then I can see it being quite rational that we would eventually come to be able to photograph those energies going around the body.
Now, just to develop this theory a little bit, they say that, they believe that key energy is a form of energy which doesn't enable you to run a 4-minute mile. It's a form of energy which regulates the relationship between the body and the mind, or if you like, the body and the soul.
Yes.
So that if various parts of your body are out of kilter, it might affect the way you think about something.
Oh, certainly. But I mean, even thoughts, even the mind is it's quite strange to think of your personality and your thoughts being electrical impulses, but to a certain extent that's the way that the brain works.
Right.
We only understand a very, very small fraction of that, but it's quite hard, I think, for us to think of our own intellectual thoughts as being nothing but a series of impulses. So I'm not really disassociating your, what's the way to put it, not your psychic self, but your soul, your actual essence of your being. I'm not confusing that with sort of physical energy.
If a field of key energy, which everybody has inside their body,
Certainly.
all right, is something which straddles both the mind and the body, or the soul and the body, if you like,
Yes.
because it is the seat of our emotions and to a certain extent our consciousness.
Certainly.
Right. And if it can now be photographed in the body and out of the body, which it leaves when the body expires,
Yeah.
we know that we can trip over a body. In other words, because it's a physical thing, its physical self remains
Yeah.
wherever it is when it expires.
Yeah.
The theory is that this key energy field also reconstitutes itself outside the body in the proximity of the body after the host body has expired.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the influence of a dead body, if you bump into it, is that you trip over it.
Yeah.
The theory is that if you find yourself either in or near a field of key energy, which is no longer in its host, but has been reconstituted, okay, in whatever medium it uses, it has the same influence on you that you get from a dead body when you trip up. But what happens is that instead of a physical trip up of a dead body, you get an emotional trip up from this field of key energy, which remains where it was when it left its host. And that all adds up, doesn't it?
Well, yes, it does. I mean, because we're becoming advanced in science that we're actually beginning to find out more and more about the soul of the person. And I've always, for a long time, I felt that actually the soul and the body were the same thing. But people had a tendency to make the soul a spiritual thing because they couldn't actually understand the mechanics of how our soul works. It almost insults the soul to sort of say, well, actually, yes, I do know how you work. You're complete physical, electrical and chemical reaction. That could then carry on. So science is beginning to give us answers, I think, about our soul, and I hesitate from using the word soul. Our soul, the essence of ourselves, and we're almost like mentally 2 steps behind it, really, because we haven't really caught up with the concept of it. It's almost unimaginable for us because we've never really. We're too slow for the scientific advances in understanding it. It takes us 2 or 3 steps to sort of catch up with that. But also what you were saying about the actual visual representation of the key energies, that they can now photograph it. and that it sort of almost looks like the person that it comes from.
Yep.
That I'm not so sure about. I think it probably does sort of almost look like the person, but I think that's because as a visualization of something that we have never seen before, you tend to almost visually contort it in. And the brain does do this, and the way that the visual cortex works and the brain works, because you're looking at something that you have no real conception of, you tend to turn it into something that is mentally understandable. And so it's quite understandable that we would sort of say, well, it sort of looks like a person, because that's where it came from. That's where we think it came from. And so we try to force a visual picture onto it to a certain degree.
Listen, Jules, good to talk to you. Thanks for your call.
Yeah, I
Appreciate
do.
that.
I've called you often, Tommy, and I do enjoy talking to you.
Well, we enjoy it when you call.
Good.
Bye-bye.
I'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye. Lou calls from Wellingborough. You're on Talk Radio. Lou, afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Lou.
That was interesting. About the chi, I mean, you often hear about people who've had transplants and they take on a habit or a liking
Yes.
that they've never liked before.
Yes.
I mean, could that be some way of sort of
Yes.
spirit moving on, if you like?
Yes.
You know, I've always found that rather fascinating, to think that somebody else can live inside. But what I really rang up for was when my grandmother was dying, just before she died, she sort of came sort of in and out, if you like.
Yeah.
And she was talking to people that we knew were dead. And it was like a welcoming committee.
Really?
Yeah. And I always thought, what a nice way to think that people were there to welcome you wherever you went or to whatever you did.
Oh, yeah.
And she'd be chatting away to them about current things, not things in the past, so that you would think that she was just remembering and going over in her mind, but things that were happening now. And then she'd say, "Oh, I'm nearly ready. I'm nearly ready." It's a bit spooky, but. And my granddad always said, because he died a long time before her, that if there was a sort of life after death, he would come back and he would tell her, which sadly he never did. But I lived on my own for quite some time, and I sort of was sitting alone one evening, and he came to me, but I never felt that I could tell her, because she might be upset that he came to me and not her.
Yes, I know what you mean.
And then I found, after she died, I wished I'd told her. I don't know how she would have taken it.
Well, it's a comforting idea.
And
I hope you're right.
Well, I hope so, yes.
We all do, actually, don't we?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do believe in ghosts, of course?
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do.
You do. And they are the spirit of people who've passed on.
I think so, yes. And I don't think that
Simple
they're
as that.
always lost spirits. You know, a lot of people say, oh, they're troubled souls.
No.
I don't think necessarily they are.
No.
I think they're perhaps performing a function.
Lou, thanks for your call. Free call
0500 1053 89.
Well, okay, we'll give this a try. Our next caller is a ghost from Leeds. You're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon, ghost.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, all right, I'm on Talk Radio.
Yes, you are.
Right, I'm a little bit reticent about this, I should say, before I start, because I'm a bit worried about getting caught, and I'm a bit worried that no one will believe me, but I am actually a ghost.
You are?
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to believe you.
Are you?
If that's all it takes.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's great.
Not at all. Not at all. And what were you up to today when you found yourself drawn to the telephone to call this radio station?
Well, I've been floating around like I always do, you know, in a haze of nothingness. And I thought, oh, this is getting me down. I need to confess. I need people to know I'm a ghost. Even though I don't actually know anybody, I can't relate to anybody. I can't have social intercourse with anybody, as it were, because I'm a ghost.
But you can't have social intercourse with other ghosts?
Oh, no, there's very few other ghosts, and it's strictly forbidden to have intercourse with other ghosts.
Of any kind?
Yeah, I mean, it does happen, of course.
No fun, is it?
Passing ships in the night, but it's no fun, no.
No, you know, like when you're a human being,
yeah,
you wonder what the point is.
Well,
do ghosts have sort of non-existentialist conversations, if you see what I mean? I mean, do you wonder what it's all about?
That's quite an amusing I mean, I witness the human world from my position as a ghost.
Yeah.
And I would say that my emotions are pretty damn similar to those of your average human being. Yeah, they're very similar indeed. I get angst and paranoia and And boredom, and that's where, you know, ghosts are known for spooking people. That's where it all comes in, really.
Really?
That's why we spook people, inhabit bodies of various dead people and come back and bring them back to life.
And do you do that, I mean, do you do that out of some kind of sense of purpose, or because, as you say, you've got time on your hands?
It's absolutely the reverse of a sense of purpose. I think that's why we do it, boredom.
The meaninglessness.
Sheer boredom and the meaningless of drifting around, being a meaningless, insignificant ghost.
Right.
I mean, when I do meet another ghost, I have them call me the Purple Phantom, which is probably because I've got illusions of grandeur, but...
Or royalty.
Possibly royalty.
Do you find the business of manifesting yourself draining? Is it a skill that has to be learned, or does it come naturally to some of you?
Well, it's not actually draining. It comes very, very naturally to you, but it gives you a buzz. And I'm not sure whether that's because it's actually difficult. I'm not sure whether it's difficult or because it's strictly forbidden by the Supreme Court, you see.
I was going to ask you about, you know, the whatever kind of constitution there is in your domain.
Well, you see, what happens is when ghosts are spawned, it's difficult for human beings to get the concept around their head of a being not being physical at all, because we're entirely mental. We're just vapor. And when women have miscarriages, sometimes, not often, but ghosts are sometimes spawned as a result of this, you see. And, we're not supposed to have any contact with the physical world. And if ghosts were to get together, you see, that might be encouraged. They might goad each other on, if you see what I mean.
And is it, do you have the same temporal continuum that we are stuck with? I.e., is it now April 1998 for Ghosts?
Oh, no. Do you ever watch Star Trek?
Yes.
Star Trek is my Bible, you see.
Okay.
Star Trek is... there is no space-time continuum. There is no such concept of time.
Okay. Well, I've enjoyed talking to you. I'll just leave you with one last quick question.
Okay.
Who's going to win the World Cup, then?
Who's going to... We are. England are. I'm a very patriotic ghost, and...
It was going very well until you said that.
I was celebrating for a long time.
It was going very well until you said that. What? It was going very well.
You'll be eating some humble pie, mate. You'll be eating some humble pie, because we win the World Cup.
England win the World Cup?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's a stormer. It's a stormer. We beat Germany in the final. Shearer gets our trick, mate.
Good to talk to you, Ghost.
Okay.
Till
Catch you later, mate.
Bye-bye. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
At 7 a.m. The conversation of the nation. 10:53, 10:89 a.m. This is Talk Radio.
It's Paul in Birmingham. Welcome to Talk Radio, Paul. Hello.
Hello, Tommy. How are you?
I'm all right. You?
Yes, very well, thank you. Hello?
Hello.
Oh, you can still hear me. That's good. I believe in ghosts. We'll get that sorted out straight away. Not because I want to, because it's been passed on to me. That's what I believe. Because a lot of my family have had ghostly experiences, and I think that gene is passed on when you can feel ghosts, see ghosts, and that's where it's come from, basically. So it's not just a case of, I believe, no, I don't believe. It's been implanted in me, and I have to believe.
Right.
Do you understand that? Because
no, let me be clear about this. In my own mind, you believe that genetically you have to believe in ghosts, or that genetically you are disposed to being a ghost?
Yep, that's right. It's not a case of that kind of belief, as in, I believe in love at first sight or something like that. That belief of ghosts has been passed on, and now I'm going to have a ghostly experience sometime in my life. And if I have that, then, in effect, my children will have a ghostly experience as well.
Right.
Because a lot of my family, older than me, they've had ghostly experiences, and it's something that stays with them forever, and it's been passed on to me. And in my previous life, I was actually a mouse, and I do love cheese. Cheese is yum. Cheese is what I like. That's because I was a mouse.
I had a big piece of mountain gorgonzola last night, which had been wrapped in vine leaves.
Has it really?
It had been wrapped in
That's one of my specialities, but cheddar cheese. Oh, cheddar cheese! I see what I mean. Cheese. I must have been a mouse.
And it caused me to have this extraordinary nightmare in which I was having a conversation with this complete bird brain.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean, Tommy.
And during the nightmare, I was convinced that I was going to wake up and it would be all right.
Yeah?
But
no, it's not.
No, it just kept going.
No. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. I'm happy for you, Tommy.
Good. Well, it's been nice talking to you, Paul.
Thank you. I love cheese, and hello to Stevie and Tommy and Bill. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I hope your genes get better.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
That's all. Because one day you will be able to go to the doctor with your genes. You will. You'll have to say, chromosome 641 is a bit of an embarrassment to me at the moment, and you will be able to have it out. Kath calls from Bromsgrove. You're on Talk Radio. Kath?
Hi, Tommy. I was phoning up with an experience I had more than anything. I was about 13, and I woke up one morning to see my best friend sat at the bottom of the bed. Now, I hadn't seen her for months, because every time I went to go and see her, her parents were like, well, she's ill, she can't see you. And so, you know, being that age, you sort of think, well, parents, you know, you do what your parents say. And I looked at her, and I looked at the clock, and I said, it's 4:10, what are you doing sat down there? And then I fell back asleep. So I woke up and thought it was a bit of a weird dream. And then later in the day, I saw her mum and she said, can you come and see Debbie? And I said, yeah, of course I can. Why? What's the matter with her? And she said, well, she's in hospital. And she explained to me the reason I hadn't been allowed to see her, that she was pregnant. And the night before, she'd gone into labour and her heart had stopped. And it stopped for about a minute or so, I think it was. And about 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'd seen her sat at the bottom of the bed at precisely that time. And when I saw her, she told me she dreamt that she'd been sat with me. And it sounds stupid. I still don't know whether I believe in ghosts or, you know, more links between people. You know, that really did spook me out a lot at the time.
Besides ghosts, there's also stories about guardian angels.
Yeah, I think sometimes maybe that can be someone that maybe you knew.
Yes.
Because since my mum passed away, I felt a lot of the time that she's been with me, because I've been going through a lot of bad stuff, and I felt that she's been there with me.
I went to college with a boy called Richard de Valera, who was a Roman Catholic, and he had been taught, and he still vaguely believed, although he was believing it less and less, but he had been taught as a Roman Catholic. I don't know whether all Roman Catholic children are taught this, but he was taught as a Roman Catholic boy that each of us have an angel watching over us. Nobody can see our angel, but we can. And he's behind you, about 3 feet behind you. And you're taught that you could see him if you could turn around quickly enough.
That's weird, because you get that thing sometimes that you think you've seen someone behind you when you're there, and you.
Exactly.
That gets to you, doesn't it? I mean, I'm Catholic. I was taught that.
Were you?
Yeah.
You were taught you had a ghost behind you?
Well, an angel.
An angel behind you?
He'd have him following us, keeping an eye on us all the time.
Did that make you paranoid?
It did when I was little. I'm sort of like a...
No wonder we're all mad.
I think the whole Catholic Church is mad, to be honest.
Well, you know the old joke about who's that bloke up there on the balcony with the Pope? You know, it's his angel. But I remember hearing that and thinking, you know, it's extraordinary that this De Valera chap had turned out almost sane if he'd gone through his childhood genuinely believing that there was an angel immediately behind him, because then where would the angel go if you're in bed lying on your back? You know, I thought to myself things like that, as you do.
Well, I can remember asking my RE teacher that, and she said they slept under the bed. And I said, but I've got drawers in my bed, and she couldn't explain that one away.
So wait a minute, your teacher told you that your guardian angel slept in the drawers under your bed? And what age were you here?
I think I was about 7.
How can you ever be sane if you're led to believe that when you're little?
I think I was sceptical then, you know. Sort of.
Holy shamoly. You've got to go off the rails.
Well...
Or maybe because the idea is you don't go off the rails. The idea is you don't do anything, in inverted commas, naughty, because even if there's nobody else in the room, your angel is.
Well, it never worked with me, so I think
It's a very cheap form of the police, if you ask me.
Well, that's the thing with
the Roman Catholic Church, isn't it?
Yeah, they sort of work on us with guilt, and it stays with you.
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to go to confession and get rid of it all.
So are you like that? Yeah, but I wasn't brought up as a Catholic, but I can still walk along the street and feel as though somebody's about to tell me that I'm doing something wrong. Is that how it is if you were brought up as a Catholic?
Yeah. I mean, you know, that's the good thing about being a Catholic, is that we're supposed to go to confession, tell them whatever we've done, and then we're okay. So, you know, better than being Jewish, because you just get the guilt all the time then, you know. I've got a friend that's Jewish, and she's been taught guilt all the time for some reason. She's just guilty of everything.
Well, I don't know
if that's normal, but, you know.
I used to work with a chap who was Jewish. He told me that Jewish people are much less likely to get nervous and suffer from neuroses because they're given fewer choices than the rest of us. And he said that when you're given a choice of what to have for breakfast, when to go to work, you're always making decisions, and it's when you're making difficult decisions that you kind of, you know, get nervous of making the wrong one. But he said, being a Jew, he had fewer decisions to make. They were made for him, what to have for breakfast and when to go to work. So, generally speaking, if it was the wrong decision, it was down to somebody else. So he was saying he didn't care. Kath, nice to talk to you.
Okay then. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
The number's free call 0500 1053 89. After the news, which is next, let's take the top layer off an important subject. Stripping.
This is definitely not Bob putting a funny voice on. Click like and subscribe to the Tommy Boyd Shrine YouTube channel. and we may get more Bob Staunton. Now, if you'll excuse me, I am going to stick laxatives in Tommy Boyd's coffee. If he won't call it quits, I'll make him strain with the squits.